and welcome to the Press Room with WCN-TV, brought to you by the Wilson County News. We're your source for community and communication. Today we're talking in depth about topics from our July 20 edition of the Wilson County News. You can read the Wilson County News or subscribe at wilsoncountynews.com. Don't forget to follow us on the platform you're watching so you never miss an episode of the Press Room or any of our other video news. Wilson County News reporter Greg Ripps has been following Forestville's election case court saga for some years now. Let's talk with him about the most recent development. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. So, how did what we're calling Forestville's election saga begin?
Well, that began actually back in September 2011.
Wow.
The Texas legislature had passed legislation which intended to unify the election dates of the various government entities from throughout the state. And at this point, Forestville decided to move its election from May to September. The Texas legislature included in the law a provision that the entities could do that without changing their charter. So Forestville did not change the charter, which clearly stated that the elections were to be held in the spring.
Right.
So that is when it started. Then in 2019, as that election cycle got underway, the city council decided to move the election date back to May from November. Therein lies the legal question as to whether the law, the Texas Election Code, allowed them to move it back again. And the lawsuit was originally filed in December of 2019 by 3 candidates who had filed according to the published time frame for filing for city council.
Yeah.
They were also joined by Mayor Sissy Gonzalez-Dipple in that effort. The legal process since that time has gone back and forth, with the 81st District Court generally siding with the plaintiffs, or I should say the appellees. That is the 3 councilmen, the 3 candidates for the council, as opposed to the city. Specifically, the members of the city council at that time, except for the mayor, of course, and the city secretary. The 4th Appeals Court, on the other hand, has generally ruled on the side of the city. The appeals have gone back and forth from one court to another, with the appeals court a few weeks ago coming down on the side of the city, but then the attorney for the candidates has filed a new motion wanting to bring the issue up before the entire appeals court, which I think is 8 judges as opposed to the 3 judges who ruled in the last decision.
Wow. That's quite a long time. So 11 years of history behind this court case that's been going back and forth. So why are those who are currently appealing the case again doing so? Why do they think that it's important and important enough to put in front of 8 judges rather than just 3?
Well, the main issue, which has the widest application, is how much liberty a city has in changing the election date. When it was changed in 2011 from May until November, it effectively extended the terms of 3 of the city council members. Again, when the election date was changed from November to May in 2019, 3 council members' terms were also extended for 6 months. And because of the pandemic requiring no elections in May of 2020, they were extended yet another 6 months.
Wow.
So conceivably, a city could change its election date and keep extending the terms of city council people. So that is a big issue that the court determination should finalize.
Wow. And so, what implications would this new decision to appeal have for those involved, including the city and the candidates?
Besides determining the larger issue, it would also ultimately determine whether the candidates who filed will have to pay for the legal expenses of the city.
Right.
Which is part of the case that the city has in opposition to these people, that all this litigation is costing the city and therefore the taxpayers. On the other side of that is the question as to whether citizens who sue the city can be constantly opposed in the courts by attorneys who are paid by the city and therefore by the taxpayer. So that's another issue that this litigation would hopefully resolve.
So that's some pretty intense stuff going on there, and if you'd like more information about these past instances of ruling on this particular case, they're all documented at wilsoncountynews.com. But Mr. Rips also wrote about a civilian training for active shooter situations in this week's July 20th Wilson County News. Greg, can you tell us what the training was called and what led Elmendorf Police Chief Marco Pena to offer this training?
This was the Civilian Response to Active Shooter Events. Its acronym is CRASE, CRAZE, but if you want to look up more about it, spell it out, or you will be misled into a number of other things as I initially was. This civilian response, of course, aims at what an everyday person would do in such a situation, as opposed to those who are in law enforcement and the training that they receive. So this has more of an emphasis on what a civilian would do. And obviously, too, of course, the number of shootings that have taken place have prompted police departments, sheriff's offices to provide such training, as there's been a lot more interest on the part of the public.
That makes a lot of sense. And so you mentioned that this is kind of an adaptation of training for civilians versus what law enforcement would do. So does this training come from law enforcement originally, and how was it adjusted to meet civilian needs?
Well, the basic training actually went into effect some years ago. I'm thinking it was 2004. This became a fairly standard course, but it has evolved over the years. And as Chief Pena told me after Elmendorf held its class, that every time there is a shooting, there is a new insight gained from the situation as to what to do. Initially, the basic considerations in reacting to an active shooter event were to run, hide, and fight, but they have modified these into avoid, deny, and defend.
Okay.
Now, there are some subtle differences there, but they are important.
Yeah.
Because avoid doesn't necessarily mean to physically run. Not everybody can physically run, for one thing. But the idea is to get as far away from the shooter as you can, as quickly as possible. Instead of hiding may not be the best thing to do. Sadly, people who think they are hidden or attempt to play dead are often victims of the shooter who wants to make sure they're dead. So simply hiding is not enough. And lastly, defending may involve more than simply fighting, which seems simple, but it covers a lot of ground. As the instructor of the course said, you want to value your life, you want to value other people's lives, but you have to make a decision as to what you would do in a very delicate moment of the encounter. You have to decide whether you want to try to stay hidden and be shot, or take your chance against the shooter by taking some means of action to prevent him, stop him, which may take your own life, but may save other people's lives.
And so what is the value, you would say, in learning how to weigh your choices like this in such a reactionary sort of instance? I mean, most of these things happen with absolutely no warning. So it is a complete reaction, and you have to be able to think through your shock.
It is establishing a frame of mind.
Right.
We tend to think this is something that can't happen to me. This won't happen in my town or in my neighborhood. But unfortunately, it can. So that's the first thing that we have to get over with. The second thing is that our minds tend to want to avoid confrontation or unpleasantries. And we have to come to grips that something very bad could be happening. And we can't simply just pretend it doesn't happen. Now, we don't want to become unthinking and act automatically, but we have to get our minds in a frame that we can accept the reality of the situation and see alternatives of action and then act on them. I think that courses in the future will probably involve some reality which puts a person not just as one sitting in a class, but having to work out the situation in order to get their minds geared.
Right.
And there's been some talk of that already.
That's amazing. So there is talk of future classes like so.
Right.
Awesome. And did Police Chief Pena or anyone else who was giving the presentation mention any resources that people can look to in the meantime? If they aren't able to attend a class right now or need to wait until the next one is available.
One source which has a simple outline is the University of Texas, which has an Office of Emergency Management, and you can find this CRAZE training there. There are other sources utilized by various institutions all over the country that will give a slightly different perspective of these things. I wanted to point out that this particular class that was taught in Elmendorf was conducted by a lieutenant from the Kirby Police Department. He has been giving these courses and has a lot of experience and offered a lot of practical insight while reviewing recent cases in video snippets and how people react and how they should not have reacted.
Well, thank you for sharing even more of this valuable information than you were able to in your July 20th article. If you would like a recap on the full happenings of this meeting and the class, it is on the front page of our July 20th edition of the Wilson County News. But thank you very much for your input, Greg.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And with that, we're taking a short break. We'll be right back with more news. Welcome to C Street Gift Shop, located at 1012 C Street in Forestville, Texas. We're your one-stop shop for all things gift, including boutique-style clothes, gourmet food items, bath and body products, and much more. We love our community, and to show our love, several items for sale in our shop benefit local nonprofits. These handmade quilts by Carolyn Dote benefit the Wilson County Historical Society in honor of the late Harry Groves. These bowl cozies, also by Carolyn, benefit the same cause. Zip-up pouches by Nikki Storr benefit the Friends of the Wilson County Public Library, which fundraises for the library's programs. Come visit our shop to find fun, unique, and handmade items sourced in Wilson County, or shop online at www.cstreetgiftshop.com. We'll see you soon. We're glad you're still with us for the press room with WCN-TV. Next, we're talking with Wilson County News reporter Kim Johnson about her July 20 coverage of Wilson County Emergency Services District 4.
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you.
Of course. So in your article in the July 20th edition of the Wilson County News, you wrote that Wilson County ESD 4 is planning a new station in Cañada Verde. So what kind of station will this be?
Well, this will be an EMT, an emergency response for ambulances, 911 calls.
Okay. What possibilities will this open ESD4 up to?
Well, the idea is that it will cut the response time for this district almost in half.
All right. Wow, that's pretty significant.
It is.
Especially
it's a big deal.
Yeah. And so why does the ESD think that a new EMT station is needed in this area?
I'm pretty sure it's because of the growth that's starting to happen.
Yeah.
If you look at where the other stations are located, it just seems the open spot up in that northwest part to make more, so that all of the stations are not concentrated down at the bottom of the county. This is kind of spreads their reach, and hence the shorter response time. So
awesome.
It's creates a better balance.
And so, were there any specific concerns that the ESD stated during their meeting that maybe brought up their concern about their current response time?
I don't think it was any one incident
Right.
that I heard that is spurring this on. I think it's just more of a preparedness thing.
And that's always good, that preventative
Certainly.
measure. It'll make all the difference
Certainly.
when something does happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so you also wrote that the ESD is working to update their radio systems.
Yes.
Why is this important? And are other Wilson County ESDs also doing this?
All of them are doing this. This is part of an upgrade for all the systems across the state to become part of a larger network. They're upgrading all of their equipment to the LCRA 700. What this does is enables better cross-agency communications. The goal, I think, is throughout the state. But yes, all of Wilson County is having to upgrade their systems.
Wow.
And it's a significant expense.
Right.
But it is in preparation so that everybody throughout the state will be on the same page.
Absolutely.
So yes, all the ESDs in Wilson County, that's what I know about.
Yeah. And you mentioned they are an LCRA radio
Yes.
program.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, that's the exactly what you thought it was, Lower Colorado River Authority.
All right.
And there is a branch of that entity, that Texas entity, that is communications.
Wow.
So it is the LCRA that we all know and love.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that information, Kim.
Sure, thanks.
Keeping on topic with new developments, Forestville may soon receive technological improvements. We're talking with Forestville Economic Development Corporation, or FEDC's Executive Director, Ben Reed, and Assistant Charlotte Jimenez Nelson about this. All right. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us today.
Anytime. At your July 11 meeting, you discussed implementing wireless audio in downtown Forestville. How are you planning to accomplish this?
Well, if I may back up, earlier this year we joined the Texas Downtown Association,
All right.
and that provides Ben and I much needed resources, information, education, and connections to other downtowners, other downtowns in the city or in the state of Texas. And one benefit from that is that they provide grants and funding on annually. So that was a benefit in joining the Texas Downtown Association. And we would like to bring what's called Airnetix, which is a speaker system for our downtown to have music, set an ambiance for projects that are going to occur downtown, either seasonally, like for our Christmas tree lighting, for the Peanut Festival, the Lions Club Car Show that's held annually can also use the system, and we can set our own hours and dates that we want certain types of music or programs aired.
Awesome. Okay. So this is something that you could remotely control. You know, you could control the music from your offices
Correct.
versus having to be downtown to do that.
Correct.
Awesome. And so in the article in our July 20th edition, it mentioned that you are in the process of applying for a grant to help you get this wireless audio system.
Correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about this grant?
So the grant is called the Aneese Reed Fund Grant, and Aneese Reed was a founder of the she was part of the Texas Historical Commission, and then she was made the Main Street Program Director.
Wow.
And she has a passion for advocating for downtowns and keeping that historical value for downtowns. And that's how Texas Downtown Association occurred. She felt a vision or saw the vision to help other cities bring their downtowns to life, and
Right.
that's what we're trying to do with Forestville, is to bring it back to life. Having the music just always sets an ambiance, and it's always nice to have. Doesn't have to be blaring. We could have our seasonal music, but if the speakers that we install face a residential area, we can tone down that one particular speaker.
Wow.
They don't all have to be at the same volume. So it gives us many capabilities, and it just would be a beneficial system for Forestville to have so that we can liven downtown.
Absolutely, I agree. And so it's this Aneese Reed grant that
Correct.
you're applying for. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other surrounding towns have benefited from it as well. You see, like the city of Livonia, you know, they put pots and things like that. So there's just small grants to help with it, and then not only just for the ambiance and stuff, but that's also for the safety for the community. So it could put out sayings and emergency things that are going on. So it's
Right.
alerts, and so it can help you in that way as well. And then we want to also see the vision of helping the small businesses and helping them when they're for the downtown business to utilize this for maybe advertising somehow, but we'll look into that in the future.
Awesome. So lots of possibilities will
Correct.
become open. Great. Okay. And so also at your July 11 meeting, the purchase of EDOIQ software for the FEDC was considered. So Ben, can you tell us about this software and why or how it would improve your functioning as a corporation?
Yeah, it just kind of brings us into the 21st century, right? So
Right.
a lot of stuff we do is pen and paper, post-it notes. And so I think the thing that caught my attention the most in talking with EDOIQ is like, how do you organize your data, right? And so we're
Right.
data driven, and how do you store it? How do you utilize it? And how do you put numbers to it for future growth? And so when he said that post-it note, I'm a post-it king, man. I have post-it, yellow post-it notes everywhere. So that kind of caught my attention and kind of looked in more to it and reached out. They'll be doing a presentation our next meeting up in August. But with this new software, it just allows us to better track everything we do on a day-to-day with the corporation, myself and Charlotte. So if we get a lead on a business, we can put it in there, and it just keeps us to track it. And as if there's funds available to help them with some type of signage and facade grant, we can tag that into it, let them know what we're doing, or things we can do to help them. The software even is geared toward only EDCs mainly, so it has a lot of different functions where, like, for example, when we were bringing Petco in, I could bring in the amount of jobs, the kind of ad valorem taxes it would give to the future 10, 20 years out. So it actually gives the benefits so you can see why you're going toward a project or why maybe a project died. But it's just better accountability software, a better way of tracking, and a better way of letting my board know as well. My board know what's going on a day-to-day basis, because they can log into this software and have certain rights to it to see where we're at, what we're doing, and as they talk to people in the community or send emails, we can always put that in the notes and better track that. And not only just with the new businesses, it helps me put in the current businesses that are here, so we can circle back around and make sure that we're helping the ones that have helped build our community over the years as well.
That's so nice. Wow. So with all of this new technology, the wireless audio, the new software, which will help y'all do a better job for our businesses, what can the citizens of Forestville look forward to in the future?
Well, I think Charlotte's been doing a great job with reaching out for some of these smaller grants to help, but now we're both reaching out, and she's kind of leading the way. But with myself as well, we have Economic Development has purchased the old Phelps building downtown. So that project, if you haven't been to Market Days, the second Saturday of the month, and seen like the renderings of what that project's going to look at, we also own the towers, right? And that's very important. That was a key component of why we decided to buy those properties and purchase them for the community. So with that, we're hoping to bring in some Wi-Fi to downtown so we can better have free Wi-Fi accessibility for our downtown. Those are some of the future projects we're starting to work on so we can become more of a tech savvy city moving forward for ourselves, because we all know I got a 9-year-old at the house and he always has a phone in his hand. So we want to make sure that they have that capability when they come anywhere in the town. Yeah, we want to make sure that that we have it, you know, and we just provide any type of business that people want to do that has internet capability to help boost that, whether, you know, they want to ride a scooter one day. Not saying we're going to ever bring that, but if they want that capability like other towns, we can do that here. And we can't tell people no, but we can tell them yes.
Well, thank you so much for all that information. That's so much good stuff that the city of Florestville can look forward to.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
That's all for today, folks. Thank you for joining us for the Press Room with WCN-TV, brought to you by the Wilson County News. Be sure to subscribe to us at wilsoncountynews.com/subscribe to receive mailed or digital versions of the Wilson County News every week. We also have free news sources available at wilsoncountynews.com/free-news, and you can follow us on YouTube or Facebook for more video news coverage. We hope to see you next week for the Press Room.